Hello, and thank you for joining me here on the Miraculous Lightworkers channel, your go-to place for all things about lightworkers and enlightenment. Tonight we're going to be reading the October 5th entry here from the Daily Meditations for Practicing the Course with Karen Casey. This book is available on Amazon.com. More information about A Course in Miracles can be found at ACIM.org. So today's reading is going to be about choice. The opening statement says, "Our split minds are our way home." Admitting to a split mind seems unsound, but if we consider how dramatically different we feel on some occasions than others, maybe we'll understand this concept better. We have all experienced moments of rage, sometimes when we desperately wanted to hurt someone, and we have felt utter total compassion for a friend in pain, perhaps in the same hour. How can the same mind embody such opposite feelings? Learning that our minds are split, that they have two parts, explains the opposing views. We soon realize that we can rely on one part or the other for our response to any situation that presents itself. Which one we choose makes all the difference in how a situation unfolds. When we seek the ego's advice to a situation, we'll generally fantasize an attack. If the Holy Spirit's wisdom is sought, we'll feel the love of God and be overcome with peacefulness. With practice, we'll come to prefer the latter. And the closing affirmation is, "I will call on the Holy Spirit and experience peace today." So I just want to go ahead and touch on this really quick. When I first began the Course in Miracles, and they kept talking about a split mind, it was really confusing. I will say that much, because at that moment in time, before I got really deep under understanding the Course, I was really at the whim of my ego, as almost everybody is, and I still fall back into it because living in this reality here on the ground, it's hard to escape that, you know? You get really comfortable with your way of dealing with life, and you forget that there is an alternative. Um, some people aren't aware there's an alternative. They just think, what? I don't have a choice. I'm just angry because that person did something to upset me. But understanding that there's a part of your spirit and a part of your mind that speaks for God as opposed to for your ego is critical in understanding the Course. Critical. There's no way around it, because our ego is the part that wants to define us and tell the world why we are justified in attack. The ego is the part of your mind that is responsible for attack thoughts. Holy Spirit is the part of your mind that says, no, I know that I need to behave responsibly in the light of what my Creator wants if I am to have peace in my life. Because ultimately, when we start to understand what the ego is up to, we realize that it doesn't want peace for us, and it doesn't intend anyone goodwill, even if it acts like it has some special relationships and people that it favors. Ultimately, it's important to get to a point where you understand how your partiality to whoever's making you happy at the moment, as opposed to those who you feel like have earned your wrath, you need to make that differentiation, because God doesn't have partiality about that. He knows we're all going to come back to wholeness and have perfect peace eventually. It's just a matter of our decision of how long that's going to take, really. So they talk about how we've had moments of anger. Everybody universally experiences those emotions. Eventually, somebody is going to incite your anger. And in the same hour, sometimes you can see somebody who looks like they were the victim of a situation and have perfect compassion. That's you acting from the dual sides of your consciousness. So that's what they mean by a split mind. You don't normally ever differentiate the two and say, oh, that's because I have a split mind. But even in our reality here on this earth plane, where we can see the duality of all things that exist, it's obvious. It's given to us in many ways, where everything seems split between the light and the dark, the good and the bad. Your brain is split into two lobes. The laws of our world are very dualistic as a way to show us that expression and bring it back home. So, this is part of why when we look at the lessons themselves, they're trying to help us retrain our mind and purify all the things that we believe are concrete in our reality. God can use all those things to teach us and to bring us back to wholeness. That's sort of the exciting thing about being able to understand how our mind has been split. So we soon realize that we can rely on one part or the other for our response to any situation that presents itself. So this is where it gets even more interesting, where we have a choice between that response. It's not an automated response, but first you have to be able to identify when the ego is jumping in and trying to sort of manhandle a situation, so to speak. When we get around that and we realize that what we truly want is not to have this conflict, but to figure out a way to transmute that into peace, that's when we realize I'm really shaping the outcome of the situation based on my choice. I have a choice. I don't have to respond blindly like my ego would have me believe. Okay, so normally our response comes straight from us asking our ego how to respond, but this is telling us, look, ask the Holy Spirit instead how to handle this to produce the outcome that we really want. And the result will be incredibly different when we realize that we have full control over that, right? So with practice, we will learn to prefer the latter, because we'll realize that our ego is not out for our highest interests and our best, even though it seems like it is, and it's here to help you understand how to get through life and have survival and all this. My closing thought on that is that I got to a point within the Course in Miracles where I realized how dangerous my ego was, essentially, to everything that I love and hold dear. It essentially will ruin and destroy everything in my life, because this is my personal truth. Everything that I hold dear will be destroyed by the ego if I so choose to allow it. That is a really sad thing to think about, because it's also what helped us form our alliances in life and this kind of thing, right? But that's when I realized and got to the point of preference where I said, you know what? I really want to hear the voice for God more than my own ego's interpretation of a situation. And that's what's going to allow me to be the vessel that holds the light and can magnify the light and can emanate the light and shine it out from my holy temple, right? So again, that closing affirmation, I will call on the Holy Spirit and experience peace today. Thanks for joining me here on the Miraculous Lightworkers channel. If you enjoyed this video, you know the drill. Like, share, subscribe, and please comment if you have any questions or just share an experience. We all come here together to uplift and enlighten and ascend, because we can't do it alone. So together we rise. Thanks for joining me. Bye now.